Since Donald Trump became the 45th president of the United States, the world witnessed something different with presidential travel. Although previous presidents had an established itinerary, Trump made his own, mixing official business with personal pursuits in ways that raised questions, created controversies, and sometimes made people quite angry. From secret trips to military hotspots to his repeated visits to luxury resorts, the schedule of Trump's travels was a mystery. His travels were not always public knowledge until they had already happened, leaving many to wonder how the leader of the free world could keep such well-publicized trips a secret. This is the inside account of how Donald Trump secretly traveled as president. While Trump made many trips around the country and overseas during his 4-year term, some were pretty unusual. They were hidden, secret, and sometimes surprised the country and the press. While some of his presidential trips were routine, Trump's travel plans existed in a combination of personal enjoyment, international negotiations, and a definite flair for the dramatic. But perhaps even more interesting was how he was able to travel incognito. One of Trump's most iconic moments of his presidency was in December of 2018, when he made an unscheduled trip to Iraq. At that point, the public had no idea he was leaving the country, much less a war zone. The trip was so secretive that only a handful of individuals in his administration were aware of the details. His landing in Iraq was kept secret, and the specifics of the visit weren't released until he had already left the country. The visit, intended to boost the spirits of American soldiers overseas, showed how Trump's travel could remain secret until the end. His secret entry into the country showed that the Trump administration didn't always follow the same rules of transparency as previous administrations. But the secrecy did not end there. Trump spent weekends more often than not at his private clubs, specifically Mar-a-Lago in Palm Beach, Florida, which was a surprise to many. Presidents are known to need a break, but Trump's choice to go to his private resort with his family meant that American taxpayers often had to pay for his security, travel, and accommodations. These weekend getaways were very expensive, and it was clear what this meant. Trump was mixing his private recreation with his presidential role, and it was hard to separate private business from public service. Mar-a-Lago was Trump's weekend retreat, but he had another second home as well. His Bedminster, New Jersey golf club was his second home too. Trump spent lots of time at both locations when he was in office, sometimes escaping Washington's political tension for some peace. The only condition was that these private vacations weren't all that private. They typically included political allies, business associates, and wealthy donors. This opened the door to charges of conflict of interest and spending public funds on personal gain. Trump would often go to Mar-a-Lago during the weekends when he was president, but his secrecy on weekends was not exclusive. In March of 2019, for instance, Trump took an unexpected short trip to North Korea and met with its leader, Kim Jong-un. The encounter was important, and the fact that it was made with so little notice made it all the more unique. The public did not know when Trump was leaving or where he was going until Air Force One had already taken flight. The visit surprised the media and the American public, demonstrating how much Trump wanted to control the narrative on his foreign policy. Surprising, too, were the surprise visits that nobody had ever heard of. Trump took a surprise trip to Afghanistan in November 2019 to celebrate Thanksgiving with American troops serving there. Nobody in the White House alerted anyone to the trip before he departed, and the White House did not tell the press. Secrecy over the trips was at the center of Trump's travel schedule. He enjoyed having the destination hidden until he arrived. What's interesting about Trump's foreign travel is how often it blurred the line between his job as president and his own interests. His 2017 visit to Uruguay, for example, was intended to be a diplomatic visit, but it quickly became questioned. Like other visits to his properties, this one was called into question regarding how much of public funds were being spent to bring in the Trump Organization's business activities. The Secret Service spent a lot of money on the visit, which cost nearly $400,000, much of which went toward temporary assignments and other related costs. Trump did choose to take commercial flights, however, instead of military aircraft, adding more confusion to his travels. While it was legal for him to take commercial flights, this was an additional mystery to his overall travel schedule. In addition to visiting the places he needed to go as president, Trump also traveled to locations associated with his businesses while on the road for work. Some of these trips involved bringing political donors or events into his presence that raised questions about whether it was appropriate for him to be president and a businessman at the same time. His properties, such as golf courses and resorts, frequently hosted foreign leaders and American political donors, raising concerns about potential conflicts of interest. Because the president spent so much time at his private properties, it was difficult to tell the difference between his official and personal business. Even the White House faced such questions. As Trump was off at his resorts, his staff worked to arrange security for his family and guests. That meant the Secret Service having to adjust to more visits to Trump-owned properties, which were expensive. Protecting a sitting president at private sites was a costly endeavor. The Secret Service spent over $60 million securing Trump and his family in 2017 and 2018. That was significantly more than what previous presidents had cost the US government, and it raised more questions about the cost of Trump's travel. As Trump's presidency went on, his travels were the subject of debate. Was it too much? Was it right for a sitting president to use taxpayers' funds to further his own businesses? Critics argued that Trump was mixing his roles as president and businessman, creating situations that were difficult to understand both ethically and legally. His frequent use of private properties, sometimes for official functions and sometimes for recreational purposes, often put him in the middle of controversies. Even if his visits were not business, they could lead to discussions about safety and access. Trump also regularly hosted foreign guests and leaders at Mar-a-Lago, occasionally for important meetings. These meetings took place in poor security conditions. Trump preferred holding official events at his own facilities, which presented risks that are not normally found in regular diplomatic sessions. In 2017, a Chinese visitor was found at Mar-a-Lago carrying electronic gear, which raised concerns about safety at Trump's own venues. The secrecy issue also included Trump's management of sensitive information when he was on the move. One of the most significant incidents occurred in 2018 at a dinner at Mar-a-Lago, when Trump inadvertently revealed classified information to a group of Chinese diplomats. Trump shared intelligence about North Korea's missile capabilities while having dinner at his private club, although the dinner took place in a public area with limited security protocols. The blunder contributed to the long list of questionable behavior regarding how Trump managed sensitive information during his time in office. It showed that his personal preferences, including where and with whom he had dinner, sometimes compromised national security. In the end, Trump's secretive travel strategy was more than a result of his presidency. It was an extension of his own way of leading. By blending official obligations with personal preferences, he created a new presidential standard of travel, one that will continue to raise controversy and scrutiny. Thanks for joining us today as we explored the fascinating world of secretive presidential travel. If you found this video informative, please leave a comment sharing your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into intriguing topics. See you next time.